I'm Phyllice Bradner. I'm one of the founding partners of Currents Gallery. I arrived here in McMinnville 14 years ago and looked for a gallery to be a part of, and there wasn't one. And so I found some other artists who were interested in starting a gallery, and within the year we got Currents Gallery going. My background is in commercial art and copywriting. I am both an artist and an author. My sister and I have published 4 mystery books right now, working on the 5th one. They're comical, cozy mysteries. There's A Corpse in the Soup, Terror in a Teapot, Vanishing Act in Vegas, and Diamonds in the Dumpster. And I've also got a new children's book that I sell here in the gallery using my illustrations. I spent 40 years of my adult life in Alaska. I was a historic restorationist. I restored the Capitol building and the governor's mansion as an architectural project. I was the publication specialist for the Alaska Division of Tourism, and also had a freelance business that I had for most of my career. So now I do whimsical art. Most of my art features funny animals. I do both block prints, etchings, and paintings. And almost all of my art is whimsical. My goal is to make people smile when they see my art. Actually, I did mostly graphic design in the early years of my career. And then there was a moment when I thought, I'm just wasting my weekends, walking around the grocery store or something. I should take a class. And so I lived down the street from the University of Alaska in Juno, and I thought, whatever they're teaching on Saturday, that's what I'm taking. And so I signed up, and they were teaching block printing. If they had been teaching basket weaving, I probably would be making baskets right now. But I dove into the block printing and etching class, and I just kept repeating the class over and over every semester, along with about 8 of my cohorts who were also older students who were not degree seeking, and we just had like an art club on Saturdays at the university, and that's where I learned to do block prints and etchings. And then I kind of branched out into painting. I had done that before in my younger years and kind of got back into that as well. So one of those semesters that I went to the University of Alaska, they weren't teaching block printing on the Saturday, they were teaching silk painting. And so I do silk painting, and you can see some of my scarves in the gallery. And that was just the result of them changing the curriculum that year, and I got into silk painting. I do block printing using actual wood. It seems the most organic to me. And I have a little press, and I carve the design, and you carve it in reverse. And then I run it through my little press, and I make prints. I also do etchings, but I don't do them very much now because it's a much more complicated process that requires acid and zinc plates, and it's very much more chemical oriented because you're eating into an etching plate. And so I've pretty much moved into exclusively doing block printing, but then because a plate can be reprinted several times, I go back to my etching plates from time to time and make fresh etchings from the plates that I've already made. Okay. Well, Buster is not a real kitty. He is, like most of my subjects, something out of my own imagination. I do have cats, and I have had dogs, and the antics dictate sometimes what I use for a subject, but I don't normally use an animal that I actually know personally. That one, the Farewell Flight with the Dying Cat, was in oils. It was one of my first. And the cat is smiling. It's happy. It had a good life. And it was astral traveling. It would go out of body quite often, and I would think that it had passed away. It was 19 years old. And I'd go get a shoebox to put the poor dead cat in, and it'd be alive again. So that was the last astral flight, and it's flying across Juno. You can see me holding the cat flying across Juno. Well, I used to use oils, and I liked them very much, but then I just put my toe in the water with acrylic, and I discovered how much I loved that because it was so easy to work with, sort of like poster paint. So now I'm pretty much exclusively acrylic, and my style is very cartoonish, I would say, whimsical, and I don't have the depth of artistic savoir-faire, and so I paint more or less in a poster kind of fashion. I have been an artist ever since I was a small child. Everyone else, you'd ask them what they wanted to be when they grew up, or they're 4 years old, 6 years old, whatever. I would always say, I am going to be an artist. And people would sort of smile and say, yes, but you can't make a living at that, so what else are you going to be? And I would just say, no, I'm going to be an artist and a writer. Those were the two things that held me ever since I was very small. I often give advice to people who are older, who say, when they see art, they'll say like, oh, but I can't draw a straight line. And I say, well, art is not about straight lines. If your heads are too big or your hands are too small, that is your a particular style. And instead of saying, oh, it's no good, I can't do this, say, that's my style, and I'm going to enhance it. Picasso's people don't look like people. Gauguin's people are all out of proportion. That's what art is about. It's about interpreting what you see and not worrying about whether it's perfect. So I often tell older people, take a class. Somebody probably told you when you were a child that you couldn't make the sky red or your tree didn't look like a tree, and you believed them. And you believed that you had no talent. And now you're 50 years old and you take a class and you discover you have all kinds of talent. So that's the advice that I usually give to people.